The year is 2000. The location is the top of an ivory tower in Dallas, Texas. The headquarters of an empire that seemed indestructible. Inside that meeting room, the air conditioning kept the temperature freezing. But one man was sweating. His name was Reed Hastings. He was the founder of a small tech startup that was bleeding money. He was desperate. He came here to surrender. Sitting across from him, relaxed in an Italian leather chair, was John Antioco, the emperor of Blockbuster. A man who commanded 9,000 stores and controlled the boredom of half the planet. Hastings' proposal was humble. He said, "We will handle the online side of Blockbuster. You handled the physical stores. And we will change our name to Blockbuster.com." Antioco smiled. That smile of someone who knows he has all the power in the room. He asked the price. Hastings answered, $50 million. What happened next was not a negotiation, it was a humiliation. Reports say the Blockbuster team struggled not to laugh in Hastings' face. To them, the idea that people would stop going to stores to wait for a DVD in the mail was ridiculous. They refused. Hastings was gently asked to leave. That was the most expensive laugh in the history of capitalism. The company they refused to buy for pocket change is today worth over $300 billion. Its name, of course, is Netflix. And Blockbuster? Well, today it has exactly the same number of stores it had on the day it was founded. 1. But don't be fooled by the simple narrative. Blockbuster didn't die just because of Netflix. That is what the headlines tell you. The truth is much more perverse. Blockbuster died because it hated its own customers. It built an empire based on a single source of dirty profit: your forgetfulness. This is the autopsy of a giant. The story of how a company addicted society to entertainment, crushed its competitors with brutality, and then committed financial suicide in public. Welcome to Empire Ruin. To understand the death of Blockbuster, we need to understand its DNA. And Blockbuster's DNA does not come from Hollywood. It comes from trash. Literally. The man who turned Blockbuster into a global titan was not a movie buff. He was a logistics genius named Wayne Huizenga. Before renting VHS tapes, Huizenga built Waste Management, the largest garbage collection company in America. You don't build a trash empire by being nice. You build it by being brutally efficient, by swallowing the competition and dominating territories. When Huizenga bought a small chain of video stores in 1987, he didn't see movies, he saw commodities. He applied the logic of garbage to entertainment. The strategy was corporate blitzkrieg. Huizenga opened a new Blockbuster every 17 hours. 17 hours. The tactic was predatory. They would enter a neighborhood, slash prices drastically, and flood the store with the hottest new releases. The small family-owned video stores, the ones where the owner knew your name, didn't stand a chance. They were suffocated and went bankrupt in months. By the 90s, Blockbuster was omnipresent. They standardized everything. The lights were too bright. The blue carpet had a specific smell. The shelves were designed to make you walk in circles. It was the McDonald's of cinema. Whether you were in New York or London, the experience was identical, sterile, efficient, and addictive. In 1994, Huizenga sold the company to Viacom for $8.4 billion. He got out at the top, a billionaire, washing his hands of it. But he left behind a dangerous corporate culture, a culture that viewed the customer not as a partner, but as a wallet to be squeezed. If you lived through the 90s, you know the ritual. Friday night, the adrenaline of rushing to the store to grab the last copy of Titanic or The Matrix. But you also know the fear of forgetting to rewind, the fear of returning the tape after noon. The famous late fees. To you, they were just a few annoying dollars. To Blockbuster, they were liquid heroin. At the height of its power, Blockbuster made $800 million a year just from fines. Think about that for a second. Almost 20% of the company's operating profit didn't come from selling a good product. It came from the customer's failure. They needed you to make a mistake. They needed you to have a bad day, for the traffic to be slow, for you to forget the tape on your car dashboard. Internally, executives called this passive income, but in practice, it was an abusive relationship. The company became addicted to this easy money. It was pure profit margin, no inventory cost, no logistics, just profit. This created an arrogant blindness in Dallas. Why innovate? Why improve service? If the customer is happy, they return the tape on time and we make less money. The business model required the consumer's unhappiness. They thought they had a monopoly on home entertainment. They thought you had nowhere else to run. But in 1997, they pissed off the wrong guy. Reed Hastings rented Apollo 13. He lost the tape. The delay was 6 weeks. The fine, $40. More expensive than buying the movie brand new. Hastings was so ashamed that he hid the fact from his wife. But on his way to the gym, that anger turned into an epiphany. He thought, the gym has a better business model. I pay a flat monthly fee and I work out as much as I want. In that moment, the idea of Netflix was born, not as a technology company, but as a direct, vengeful response to Blockbuster's abuse. Blockbuster had just created its own assassin, and they didn't even know it. In the early years of the new millennium, Netflix didn't look like a giant killer. It looked like a joke. They mailed DVDs. Think about the logistics of that in 2002. You went to a slow website, picked a movie, and waited. 2, maybe 3 days. Meanwhile, Blockbuster offered instant gratification. You wanted to watch Spider-Man? You drove to the store and watched it that night. To the executives in Dallas, Netflix was a mosquito, a niche for nerds and film buffs who lived far from the city. They had a strong argument. Why wait for the mailman if there is a store 5 minutes from your house? But Blockbuster made a classic data analysis error. They looked at Netflix and said, they only have 1% of the market. They are irrelevant. What they didn't see was who that 1% was. Netflix wasn't stealing the casual customer who rented one movie a year. Netflix was stealing the heavy users, the cinema addicts, the customers who rented 5, 10 movies a month. These were the exact customers who paid the most late fees. Netflix was draining Blockbuster's richest blood, drop by drop, red envelope by red envelope. In 2004, reality finally hit. John Antioco, the CEO who years earlier had laughed at Reed Hastings, stopped laughing. He looked at the internal numbers and saw the abyss approaching.
Contrary to urban legend, John Antioco was not stupid. He was a retail veteran. And when he decided to act, he didn't just want to compete with Netflix, he wanted to crush them.
In 2006, Blockbuster launched its nuclear weapon. The program was called Blockbuster Total Access. It was a masterstroke, the best hybrid strategy ever seen in retail. It worked like this. You subscribed to Blockbuster online, just like Netflix. You received the movie in the mail, but when you finished watching, you didn't have to wait for the mailman to take it back. You could run to your local Blockbuster store, return the movie at the counter, and walk out with a new movie for free, instantly. It was the best of both worlds. The convenience of the internet with the speed of the physical store. Netflix had no stores. They couldn't compete with that. Reed Hastings panicked. For the first time, Netflix started losing subscribers. Netflix stock plummeted. Blockbuster was winning. Total Access was a roaring success, gaining millions of subscribers in record time. But Antioco's genius didn't stop there. He did the unthinkable. He cut the company's addiction. He abolished the late fees. He told shareholders, if we want to survive, we need to stop hating our customers. It seemed the turnaround was complete. The giant had awakened, modernized, and was about to swallow the competition. In 2007, Netflix was on the ropes. But there was a problem, a fatal problem. Antioco's strategy was saving the company long-term, but it was bleeding the company short-term. Total Access was expensive. Giving away free movies cost money, and killing the late fees, that wiped $400 million of direct profit from the company's balance sheet. Blockbuster was strategically saved, but financially, it was temporarily in the red. And on Wall Street, blood attracts sharks. A specific shark smelled it. His name was Carl Icahn, a billionaire investor known as a corporate raider. He didn't care about movies. He didn't care about Netflix. He wanted his dividend check today. Carl Icahn bought a massive chunk of Blockbuster stock and started a civil war inside the boardroom. He looked at John Antioco and said, "You are burning my money with this internet nonsense. Stop Total Access. Bring back the fines. Raise the prices." The stage was set for the final duel. On one side, the CEO trying to save the future. On the other, the investor trying to loot the present. And guess who won? 2007 was the year Blockbuster died. The heart stopped beating that year, even though the body kept walking like a zombie for a while longer. The battle between CEO John Antioco and investor Carl Icahn was not pretty. It was brutal. Antioco tried to explain the math. We are losing money now, but we are stealing Netflix's customers. If we stick with Total Access for another 18 months, Netflix breaks. But Carl Icahn didn't speak the language of strategy. He spoke the language of the quarterly bonus. To him, spending $400 million to build an online platform was waste. He called Antioco's plan a black hole. He convinced the board of directors that Antioco was panicking and burning cash for nothing. In July 2007, John Antioco was forced out. He took his severance package and left. And with him went the company's only chance of survival. To replace him, Carl Icahn brought in a savior, a man named James Keyes. And what was James Keyes' brilliant resume? Where did he come from? Google? Amazon? No. James Keyes was the former CEO of 7-Eleven. Yes, the convenience store. The man chosen to guide Blockbuster through the digital age was an expert in selling cigarettes, gum, and cold sodas. Keyes' vision was simple and tragically backward.
He thought, the internet is hype. People want the store experience. Keyes' first act as CEO was to undo everything Antioco had built. He looked at the Total Access program, the only thing that was killing Netflix, and he canceled it. He said it was too expensive. Instead of investing in online streaming, he decided to focus on retail. He filled Blockbuster stores with toys, candy, microwave popcorn, and digital picture frames. Blockbuster stopped being an entertainment tech company and became a movie convenience store. And for the final blow, he brought back the late fees. The easy money flowed again. The quarterly balance sheet turned green for a moment. Carl Icahn was happy. The shareholders applauded. But in Los Gatos, California, Reed Hastings must have opened a bottle of champagne. Blockbuster had just surrendered. In an infamous 2008 interview, James Keyes said the phrase that would be his epitaph. Neither Redbox nor Netflix are even on the radar screen in terms of competition. He was right. Netflix wasn't on the radar. It was the missile that had already been fired and was seconds away from impact.
While Blockbuster was busy trying to sell more popcorn, the world changed beneath their feet. High-speed internet reached the masses. Netflix realized that mailing DVDs was also the past. They launched streaming. Click, play, no waiting, no mail, no store. Blockbuster, now burdened with thousands of expensive physical stores and high rents, could not move. They were a heavy dinosaur trying to outrun a digital meteor. In 2010, the inevitable happened. The debt was unpayable. The stock, which once traded at $30, was now worth pennies. The New York Stock Exchange delisted Blockbuster for being junk. In September, Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy. It was a humiliating liquidation. The company was bought by Dish Network for $320 million. Remember, they had the chance to buy Netflix for $50 million, and now they were sold for scrap prices. Dish Network closed the remaining stores. 9,000 locations became pharmacies, banks, or gyms. The blue and gold empire, which defined the Friday nights of an entire generation, evaporated. Today, if you travel to the small town of Bend, Oregon, you will find something strange. A single store with the blue and gold sign lit up. The last Blockbuster in the world. It is no longer a global business. It is a living museum, a tourist destination where people go to take selfies, buy t-shirts, and smell the old carpet and nostalgia. It is the lonely tombstone of an empire that refused to look at the future. The lesson of Blockbuster is brutal but necessary. They didn't die from a lack of technology. They had the money, they had the brand, they even had the right strategy with Total Access. They died because of greed. They died because investors like Carl Icahn preferred the guaranteed profit of today over the survival of tomorrow. They died because they were addicted to punishing their customers with fines instead of serving them with innovation. In business, you have two choices. You can cannibalize your own business before someone else does, or you can wait to become someone else's dinner. Blockbuster chose to wait, and Netflix enjoyed the meal. The corporate graveyard is full of giants who thought they were too big to fail. But few failures were as explosive as the company that tried to own the entire internet in the 90s and lost everything in months. If you want to know the story of that $100 billion disaster, watch our next video
about the dot-com bubble.